Welcome everyone. Today we will be having an opening ceremony of World Business Angel Investment Week of Asia Continental. So today we will start with a welcoming speech by Mr. Derik Kim, Continental Chair of Asia of WBAF, also the Senior Senator of South Korea. So Mr. Derik Kim, stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon now in Seoul, and then maybe in other Asian countries in good morning. With the respected executive chairman, World Business Angel Investment Forum, on affiliated partner of the G20 Global Partnership for Financial Inclusion, Mr. Baybars Altuntas, and members of the board of WBAF and the staffs of the Global Organization Committee of World Business Angel Investors Week. I am delighted to be hosting World Business Angel Investors Week 2021 in 72 countries around the world. It is also a great honor to oversee the ASEAN part of this great event by designating me as the Continental Asia chairperson. While preparing for this event, all Asian countries, especially 15 Asian countries belonging to WBAF, tried to host this event, but only 6 countries host finally this event. In this regard, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Indonesia country chair, Muliandy Nasution, China chair, Mariana Ko, Malaysia chair, Wan Farah Ahmed, Korean chair, Kevin Yeon, and Thailand chair, WIPA Wanasatop. I would also like to thank the India chair, Dr. Nikhil Agrawal, for participating as a panelist for this event, even though India could not host a country event. Today's Asia opening ceremony, we have 2 great keynote speakers. The first speaker is Professor Inderjit Singh of Nanyang University, a former member of the National Assembly of Singapore, who will give a lecture on the agenda of regulatory reform for startup innovation. He is the president of the Global Startup Committee and the president of the Global Startup Investment Promotion Agency at WBAF. Professor Singh gave a keynote lecture with me at the 2019 WBAF World Congress Global Startup Session. At that time, I received a lot of insight from him. So today I am so excited to hear his keynote again. The second speaker is the Executive Director and Chief Economist at Central Bank of Bangladesh, Dr. Habibur Rahman. Dr. Rahman is a macroeconomist with interest in fintech, regular tech in the areas of the monetary, trade, financial, and development economics. He will give you a great lesson on how to respond in today's gig economy. In addition, in the first country chairs roundtable with 4 country chairs and Ted Koo, Managing Director at the D-Party Dangdang, partner attorney of the Lin PC, who are Korea's top experts in the field of regulatory innovation in the startup ecosystem, were invited as a special panel. And in the second roundtable, international innovator Dr. Singh, who is a professor in Korea and Vietnam, together was invited as a moderator. With Dr. Watts moderating, Rama Ilayar, head innovation of GMR Group, who is the main body of aviation innovation in India, Clinton E. Day of Entrepreneurship Resource Institute LLC, on American Gig Economy and Entrepreneurship Research Institute, and Small Ticket Company Limited, a fintech startup in Korea, Julie Jung-Kim, founder and CEO, were hosted as the panelists. So I look forward to a lively discussion about the future of the Asian startup ecosystem. After the opening ceremony, the Bangladesh, China, Malaysia country sessions will start at 8 a.m. GMT, and Indonesia already ongoing, and followed by the Korea and the Thailand country session at 10 a.m. GMT. Therefore, please stay tuned at each country session at the www.angelweeks.org. Finally, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Kevin Yeon, Hyung-Seop Kim, senators, and all of international partners, WBAF Korea, and especially Junbae Lee, Chairman, and Sung-Hyun Kong, Secretary General of the Korea Accelerator Association, for their behind-the-scene support for this event. Also, I would like to thank Lee So-an, CEO of Terminal, who was willing to take charge of this event, Master of Ceremony. And I would like to thank all the audience today who participated, and I will now hand over the microphone to Lee So-an. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Thank you for kickstarting our event. Now, and also thank you to all the distinguished guests and speakers for taking part on today's event. So on extend to our welcoming speech, Mr. Baybars Altuntas, Executive Chairman of World Business Angel Forum and an affiliated partner of G20 Global Partnership for Financial Inclusion, shall give us a video message for today's event.
Dear presidents, dear ministers, dear distinguished keynote speakers, dear moderators, dear speakers of roundtables, dear participants. Welcome to the World Business Angel Investors Week, and welcome to the Angel Investors flagship events in the world. World Business Angel Investors Week is a great platform where all stakeholders come together to assess their fast-paced journey, to analyze why and how we should leverage angel investment as a must-have financial tool for boosting economies. We are going to reiterate how entrepreneurial ecosystems can create more jobs, more wealth, and more social justice in cooperation with key players of early-stage equity markets. During the World Business Angel Investors Week, we are going to create a unique opportunity to showcase fresh and innovative ideas that inspire current and future leaders of the world to take risks on new ideas, collaborate across sectors, and transform world economies through the scaling of entrepreneurship, angel investment, financial inclusion, and innovation. This week-long event is an open platform for connecting, learning, sharing, and exchanging know-how that promotes entrepreneurship and angel investment ecosystems. This is a great platform from which to campaign for solutions to critical issues of early-stage equity and capital markets and other worldwide concerns at the United Nations, the European Union, and G20 countries level. As an affiliated partner of the G20 Global Partnership for Financial Inclusion, GPFI, the World Business Angel Investment Forum is proud of organizing all events of the week globally. We are going to have 156 keynote speakers, 138 roundtables, with 325 speakers from 128 countries until next Sunday. 72 countries are celebrating this week until next Sunday. And I'm sure all participants from Europe, Asia, Africa, North America, Latin America and the Caribbean, and MENA region will find a rewarding experience by joining and following the events until the end of this week. I want to thank so much to all country chairs and continental chairs for their efforts to make all these happen. I want to highlight an important detail of this week. The detail is this week is now celebrated under one global topic: international diplomacy and business diplomacy for international entrepreneurship. Why we wanted to come together under this global topic this year? Mr. COVID alerted all entrepreneurial ecosystem about the importance of business diplomacy for startups, scale-ups, and entrepreneurs and SMEs. We are inviting all governments to consider including more financial support in their recovery plans against COVID-19 for entrepreneurs and for SMEs and for startups, because entrepreneurs of today need more support to be ready for post-pandemic times. Why? Because they are suffering. They are suffering financially. And governments should start immediately considering the importance of financial support for startups, because they are creating new jobs, they are creating new wealth, and they are contributing to social justice. So the WBAF board decided to invite all stakeholders under this global theme and invite all policymakers to take this important issue into consideration. Without financial support, entrepreneurs will not be able to transform their businesses digitally. Business transformation and digital transformation are two key words for entrepreneurs of today. If they cannot succeed, if they cannot achieve transforming their businesses digitally, they are going to suffer more in the future, which means governments will suffer too, because these entrepreneurs will not be able to create more jobs in post-pandemic times. We are going to host 80,000 participants this year from almost all continents. And it is a great pleasure for me to see all global stakeholders of the WBAF came together to really support entrepreneurs and startups. All events this year and always will be free for everybody who want to join our global efforts in this week. I am sure you are going to find a rewarding experience by joining this week's events. And special thanks are going to all country chairs and continental chairs who made all these things happen. Thank you very much and enjoy.
Thank you, Mr. Baybars Altuntas, for addressing the importance of diplomacy for entrepreneurship in this era. And thank you for gathering such global efforts to do so. So also to all the guests and speakers, I deeply appreciate for your patience to short delay happened earlier. Now we shall have keynote speech given by Professor Inderjit Singh, the President of Global Startup Investment Promotion Agency, an institute of World Business Angels Investment Forum, and an affiliated partner of G20, a global partnership for financial inclusion on regulatory reform. So now we will have a keynote speech on regulatory reform of startup innovation in Asia. Mr. Singh, the floor is yours. Mr. Singh, you're on a mute at this moment.
All right, sorry, yeah. So once again, thank you for having me today to deliver this keynote address. And really welcome everyone who has joined us for this opening ceremony. And I'm going to talk about the regulatory reform for the startup and innovation in Asia. This is one area that I've experienced as an entrepreneur and also as a policymaker. And I have been looking at the changing environment. So I'm going to talk a bit about what I think are the potential opportunities for us in this changing environment. This is the agenda of what I'm going to talk, and I'll try to finish this within the 10 minutes I'm allocated. Now, deglobalization, what are the adjustments that we need in the economic model as a result of the changes that happened just before COVID and also after COVID, and how startups are going to play a very big role, what governments can do, and how in Asia we can work together to create a common prosperity that we desire. Now, this is a picture of an empty airport. It's a clear sign of deglobalization. But I want to say that deglobalization was already happening even before COVID. All right, and then COVID has made it worse, and I think we can expect that things will not go back to normal, and so we can expect that we'll have to adjust what we were used to in the past to new models that if we want to succeed in the coming in the new normal that's going to come. This is same for governments, for the economy, also same for companies. If you want to create success for yourself. Now, what are the effects of deglobalization? Of course, for COVID in the near term, the different rates of vaccination is going to be a big problem. While we all desire to continue cross-border engagement, it's not going to happen in the next few years. It's not a few months, but in the next few years, you'll take some time before all of this settles down. And so I think that's one. The other one is reversal in migration patterns, mitigates brain drain and population shrinkage that was faced by less developed countries, the countries that were losing their talent to bigger countries. Because of deglobalization and because of this doors closing up, the talent will remain in the individual country. And imagine what you can do if governments can reform their systems, make the systems vibrant enough so that this talent can contribute to the economy. There is also a rise in the level of decision-making at the state level compared to international institutions. What this means is that there are some countries like New Zealand, Australia, and there are many more who take drastic action just to take care of their people on their own shores, ignoring the global institutions that intend to keep the world connected. So, and we are going to see many more of such examples of countries that are doing this. The fourth effect of deglobalization, of course, the eroding trust in the US leadership, not just because of the pullout from Afghanistan, that's a big effect, but also the behavior of the US government in actually reversing some of the effects of globalization in protectionism and in a trade war that they started. And this is basically going to weaken the economic fortunes of many countries. And I think we have to be prepared for that. Then following that is China's change. China is now looking inwards. They are clamping down on tech companies, dampening investment, and with many unilateral port shutdowns, whenever they detect some problem, for example, a city that's affected, they just shut down everything. It is affecting China's reputation as a global factory of the world, as a center of the global supply chain of the world. So these are all the things that happened before COVID, during COVID, and I think will continue to hurt the world as we move forward. Now, of course, when COVID hit, we know that not every sector, not every industry was hit. The ones that were very highly hit were the airlines, gaming, the automotive industries, oil and gas, and so on. But that is reversed, by the way. The demand has come back. There were some that were moderately hit, and some had positive impact. The online retail, internet services company, many of these other companies benefited. So there were different impacts on different industries. We need to see where each one of us stand in this whole landscape, and then we need to react differently. Those who are doing very well can continue, but those who are doing very badly need to reinvent their business models. And so many of the economies will have to adjust their economic growth models, and what worked in the past may not necessarily work in the future. In fact, the World Economic Forum estimate that the global trade to drop by about 32%. And that's a huge drop, actually. and foreign direct investment to drop by over 40%. So this means that, for countries like Singapore that rely very heavily on foreign direct investments may no longer enjoy this, although we may enjoy it in the short term, but I think this is going to go away. Second is a complete realignment of supply chains. It started with a trade war that was initiated by the US against China, leading to manufacturing becoming more distributed. But also, actually, China added to this problem when they shut down the country when COVID first hit, and all the supply chains got disrupted and factories were no longer supplying to the rest of the world. And also more recently, when they continued to shut down ports for days or for weeks at a go in trying to tackle the COVID situation. What has happened is that people are now not going to put all their eggs in one basket in China, and they're going to look for new centers of manufacturing and other kind of services. And this therefore is an opportunity for other Asian countries that we cannot depend on China alone. And therefore global supply chain need to be redesigned to meet the changing habits of the world in terms of manufacturing, but also consumption. Many people went online, even 90-year-olds were online, doing talks with their family, and they are shopping online. The older generation has shifted online. So this is going to be another big change. Now with technology, robotics, automation, AI, labor cost has become insignificant to overall production costs. With further advances in technology, what this means for expensive countries like Singapore, that we can actually make manufacturing viable when in the past we could not because of high cost of labor. Now let's look at what is going to drive the future economies of the countries in Asia and around the world, I would say. Innovation and startups. And startups are going to be a big contributor, and therefore the World Business Angels Forum can play a very big role in helping facilitate this. That we want to make the startup economy a success. Korea did very well, went up to the 5th position in terms of the global innovation index, highest in Asia. Singapore slipped down a bit, and there are many reasons why Korea did very well, and this is a lesson that all countries can learn. Korea excel in indicators for trademarks being filed, global brand value, cultural and creative services support. Squid Games is an example. And I teach innovation ecosystems in the university, and I know that in Korea, even the entertainment industry uses a lot of AI, a lot of technology to decide what do the audience want. Korea is ranked 9th in innovation inputs, bolstered by R&D investment in bioscience to help with vaccines, medicine, and others. In fact, many of the test kits initially came out from Korea. And it topped in ICT first, and government's online service and e-participation is first again. And it's ranked 5th in terms of innovation output. Creative economy boost from the K-pop and the K-drama and Netflix movies like Squid Game are examples. Improve in knowledge and technology outputs like high-tech exports from companies such as Samsung, LG, and so on. So this Korea actually becomes a great example for many countries to emulate. And I think, we can see that, the startup economy is going to play a major role in Korea and in many parts of Asia. Now in Southeast Asia, I got it since April 2021, the number of unicorns that are emerging in Southeast Asia are growing quite rapidly. And you can see these are all the unicorns as of April 2021. And many of them are in Singapore, but I want to say that, the ones in Singapore are also regional startups that decided to base in Singapore. There were 17 in Southeast Asia, and but in terms of investment in startups, Indonesia, the startups cleaned 70% of capital invested into Indonesia. Is more than 250 million population. It's rapidly growing in the innovation landscape, and I think this is a very exciting thing for Asia and Southeast Asia in general. Now, with these changes that are happening around the world in the whole ecosystem, with supply chains being realigned, with the startups that are going to play an important role, what can governments do? These are the three important areas I think that the government should look at. First, in the regulatory area, making business-friendly policies, rule of law, so that people trust that I will get the right attention if I need to turn to the law for protection, and of course protection of intellectual property, which many countries have done quite well and some have not. Second is access to finance. Startups need financing at not just the beginning stages, but throughout the different stages. And so this is something that government should really focus on, because this is the center of the problem for most countries who are not successful because of access to finance. And related to that is also conducive tax policies, so that it makes it very interesting and makes it worthwhile for investors to invest in startup. And finally, infrastructure, access to skilled workforce. In countries like Singapore, we have a very small population. If we shut our doors to talent from other parts of Asia or other parts of the world, we will not be able to provide the kind of workforce that's needed for the creative industry and for every industry. And so we have to make it easily accessible if you have local talent, but also allow foreign talent to come in. Ease of global expansion, which means connectivity. In a small market like Singapore needs to be connected with many more markets. And of course, quality of life. If you want to attract your talent to stay in your country, quality of life must be good. If you want to attract new talent to come in, your quality of life must be able to attract them. So I see these are what are the things that governments have to do. And very quickly, I just share some examples in Singapore. We have a very vibrant environment with government getting involved in funding and assisting startups. Government provides funds, fund of funds, to help funds invest in startups. Talent, I mentioned earlier, we have opened our doors. We bring in many talent because we don't have enough. If we want to grow our economy, we should be open. And we spend a lot of money and a lot of time in nurturing and harness specialization and innovation and research. In the last 30 years, Singapore has spent about $60 billion in the area of research and innovation. And we continue to do that. And we also put in a lot of incentive to spur demand and to bring in talent to focus on the innovation landscape. And of course, infrastructure in Singapore in many areas, including finance and everything else, education is excellent. So these are some examples. Hopefully some countries can also follow. Now I see a big potential in Asia for services to be the regional trade driver for Asia. And this is one area that Asia is relatively less developed. If you compare to the average of the world, the global figure for services as a contributor to the economy is 25%. Whereas when we look at Asian countries, in Japan, Hong Kong, Australia, China, Malaysia, South Korea, and Thailand, our services contributes only about 18%. So there is a huge space to go. Now, why is it now possible? Because technology has allowed us to make this happen with digitization, and allows many of the services that we thought were not tradable across borders are now going to be tradable. And so I think there's an opportunity for all of us in Asia to see how we can focus in this particular area. And my final slide, how can Asia prosper together? It is not a zero-sum game. All of us can prosper if all of us work together. And I mentioned just now, digitalization is one way. Production and supply chains can be redistributed. I think there is opportunity for all countries. Some of us take part of certain part of the supply chain and some of us another part of the supply chain. Cross-border financing and partnership. Some countries have very vibrant financing environment. Singapore, Korea probably are quite good, but some countries don't. But that does not mean that you cannot access foreign capital. So I think if, let's say, we can open up our doors and have a part of this cross-border financing, then I think we can rebalance the whole of Asia and create many more great companies. Big companies can also look at acquiring, partnering some of the startups through M&A. And I think this is one way. And there are many big companies, Alibaba, Tencent, are already doing that in this part of Southeast Asia. And there is also an opportunity to assess global finance, listing your companies in Hong Kong, in China, in Singapore, and some of the exciting places in Asia. I think that's another thing. Now, the other big area that has changed, which COVID forced us to change, was remote working, remote learning, remote working. Work culture, therefore, need to be flexible to adjust to local markets. And I call this work from home culture that's going to come. Work from your village. If I want to hire a talent, I no longer, if I'm in New York, I'm a bank, I want to hire a talent from India, I no longer need that talent to fly all the way and base himself in New York. That talent can remain in the village in India with connectivity, with technology, work can continue. And of course, to do all of this, government support is crucial to boost regional services trade, reducing costs, strengthening regulatory cooperation, and sharing technical policy assistance. So this brings me to the end of what I wanted to say. I hope that it's given a picture of what it was, the world was changing pre-COVID, how the world has changed during COVID, and what we can do once COVID thing has been settled. I hope this has been useful, and I wish everyone a successful conference seminar ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. I could feel the essence of your experience and insights. We shall now hear from Dr. Habibur Rahman, Executive Director and Chief Economist at Central Bank of Bangladesh, keynote speech on reopening and rebuilding gig economy post-COVID-19 in Asia. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Let me thank you all for. I'm sorry for being a little bit late for arranging these technical things. Now we are okay. This is the thing I'm going to talk about: reopening and rebuilding gig economy post-COVID-19 in Asia. Okay. So yes. So let me put one thing ahead of this. My presentation is like where we are standing right now as a economy in the Asian region. So you can see three boxes here. One is the factor-driven phase, the efficiency-driven phase, and then innovation-driven phase. Definitely, we are not in the area of factor-driven phase anymore. Some of us may be trying to get our efficiency right, and then we are struggling, or we are trying to move towards innovation-driven phase. In the innovation-driven phase, actually, all the technicalities, including the gig works, getting the upper hand, and the way the faster we move towards this economic phase, development phase, we'll be seeing more gig works, more gig activities in the economy. Okay. During the pandemic, we know how devastated experience we are having, and it's look like this pandemic is going to run a few more days because of this uneven distribution of at the same time availability of the main medicine, which is called vaccine. Every country or every body in a country is not getting as the distribution is pretty much uneven. We have seen millions of deaths, job losses, and distortions, urban to rural migration, and a lot of income loss and livelihood disturbances. So as a result, there are some opportunities also comes. We know that when there is a chaos, something got devastated and something get new opportunity. So we can see the new opportunity in the area of particularly e-commerce, or robotics engineering, online based job training, education, and medicine, particularly biotechnology, is getting a lot of activities increased. All these are opening actually the golden gate of gig economy, because we will see why gig economy is getting the golden gate to enter the new world. And some of the sources of innovation, as we know, that unexpected occurrences like the shock of COVID-19, and some also come from some incongruities. That is, when there is a problem, there is a solution. The gig economy, I know everybody knows about it, but to some maybe it's a new concept. So it's a activities or engagement that are time bound and part-time or temporary in nature, thought to be the part of a gig economy. Traditionally, the term comes from musician, photographer, or artist kind of things who are referred as a gig workers. So gig economy is temporary in nature, also is time bound, and they are flexible, and those jobs are commonplace. And companies tend to hire independent contractors or freelancers instead of full-time workers or full-time employees. Why they are preferring it? Definitely there are some cost effectiveness, there are some efficiency effectiveness in there. So examples are like freelancer, part-time workers, app-based service workers, delivery workers, etc. So why gig economy is getting momentum, getting upper hand? Because it is, I'll term it, it is a very cost-effective, flexible, and also cheaper. And also you can get the service with less hassles, less time to spend there. You know, although it undermines the traditional full-time jobs, which is preferable to a lot of young job seekers. But if you are good producers or good worker, you can make more money even though that you are not full-time workers. And this is efficient, as I told, it is also cheaper. And as I mentioned in the first slide, that the economy with the most highly advanced in technology, advanced in other economic foundings, they tend to be more fields or more works for the gig workers there. Okay, so particularly it is like gadget based. It could be a computer. It could be because smartphone could be one of the very instrumental element to making the bridge between the work seeker or service providers, service seekers and service providers. Okay, and both the COVID and gig economy, and as I told earlier, that some of the sectors get devastated, while some of them get a new opportunity. As a result, you can see the because of the containment measures in terms of lockdowns, in terms of movement restrictions, the services like ride sharing or demand-based house renting get severely affected. On the other hand, online-based, on-demand based online marketplace has get increased manifold. Regular jobs also shifted towards gig works. And as a result, both the numbers and types of the workers employed in the gig economy has been increased manifold due to COVID pandemic. Oh, what happened? And it has some challenges because the gig work or gig economy has some limitations in terms of the comfort and stability. As for example, the salary may not be fixed because it is only based on your work's delivery, and you need to work without much of support and without it's actually not providing any social or other support in most of the cases. That means you have to be on your own to earn your money from the gig work. And also it is kind of uncertain in a way that it is temporary in nature. So without a more predictable career cannot be said that gig work is so stable and predictable. And coping with the you have to have, so it is temporary, it is in a way it is also volatile because it depends on the demand for work as well. So there are some emotional turbulence issue to be there. How COVID changed the gig work for good? So is it new normal, or we are going to go back the earlier setup? No, it is going to be new normal, and it has changed forever for good. And because more companies are using gig workers. Not only company, even if you look at the household services in every houses in particularly urban areas, no, you are not finding the maid. I'm saying you are not finding somebody is working 24/7 for you. They will come for 2 hours or 3 hours. They will do their works and go back. So it is comfortable. It is freedom freedom provider to the workers as well. So as a result, it is not going to go away. It is coming very strongly. So more companies are using gig workers, more workers are turning to gigs, and there will be definitely competition for gigs, because only better, the best worker will be doing best. Everybody will not be treated as same. There will be two-way feedback system for the more crucial than ever, and gig work is so gig work is never going to, is not going to go. It will stay here, and this is the new normal. So there are some areas of gig works getting momentum or getting their strong footing. Some of them asset sharing services, and then asset sharing services means you have some asset or you have some something you own and you can share with the other people to earn money. It could be a house, it could be a car, it could be or something else. You know, the Airbnb, Uber, and other rental-based services is P2P directly, person to person. Okay, and then transportation-based, again, Uber could come here, and for Bangladesh, it is we can name Pathao, very popular to the young generation, to the service provider as well as service receiver, because Pathao, particularly the bike ride, is very popular to go from one place to other in a faster way, in a cheaper way, without having a lot of troubles and in the traffic jam of the city. And then professional services, it could be like design, house planning, or it could be educational services as well. You know, the example would be here like Upwork, Catalent, and Guru, like these things. And other is like homemade goods and services. You can see there is a booming online service provider, particularly in Bangladesh nowadays. We can hear the chaos of eValley. There are some chaos as well. eValley, also eOrange kind of things. We do have like Chaldal and other food delivery services, Food Panda and other things. They are providing home restaurant or homemade services to the doorstep of the consumer. How big is the economy? The gig economy is currently I think it is in 2021 it has calculated or estimated as around 350 billion in gross volume, while transportation-based services getting the pie of the maximum pie. And size would be growing faster. It is projected that by 2023 it will be like more than it could be close to $500 billion services. The rise will be very considerable for Bangladesh and in the world as well, starting from today to 2016. You can see the volume of size of the gig economy starting from 2018 to 2023, 204 to like 455 billion USD. As I mentioned earlier, transportation get the highest share, almost 58%, and then asset-based sharing, and household, and then professional services. So what are the drivers here? This evolving social attitudes about P2P services, increased digitization, flexible work-life environment, and also shrinking middle class. So if you are if you are not in the middle class, either you will be lower class or higher class. If you are higher class, you maybe like to receive services or provide services, something like that. Demand side driver is like the demand is getting momentum. Consumers are demanding more gig services, and boom of the demand, on-demand services. Then venture capital funding is also available for that, and business businesses are outsourcing more short-term tasks and jobs ever before. Pros for workers. What are the positives for the workers? Is low barriers to entry, and anybody can enter. Greater efficiency in matching, and then borderless market. You can work in any country, staying in any country through internet or virtual platform. There is no border. It's flexible, and you do have also independence. Independence is very big thing for any worker to provide their services. So it has a greater independence scope. It has also limitation because jobs, there is no job security, no pension benefit, and also you are subject to paying tax or other expenses related to work. Okay, and also lack of cultural solidarity. Sometimes if you are not doing a permanent job, a cultural society like in Bangladesh, a lot of people may not be recognize you as an employee or something. Okay, and more stress because your work is time bound. You have to bear a lot of stress during the work time. Okay, what the benefit for the businesses? The cost is lower. It is less hassle work. Diverse pool of flexible workers. You have a lot of choices and ability to scale quickly because it is time bound, and you can scale it up quickly. Less, again, there is some negativity as well. Because they are not full time, the reliability is less, and tight regulation on contractor status need sometimes may hurt your work. Okay. Central bank and the gig economy. What are the role from the central bank point of view? Is central bank can play a big role. After the shocks of COVID, central bank across the globe came very, I would rather say very aggressively with the funds, with the support, so that economy could be fighting to recovering back quickly. With the technology evolving, so central bank has a great role to play to support with their policy, to support with their money, to support with their lending restriction to the new sectors, to the new workers, so that there will be enough liquidity available for the gig economy to grow to flourish. Whatever the Asian picture is very, very encouraging, starting with Malaysia, Singapore, India, Vietnam, Thailand. They are doing pretty good relative to emerging, relative to country like Bangladesh, who is trying to graduate from least to developing nations. So they are changing their rules. They are supporting with their digital technology, with their interest rate barriers, also with their support for regulatory or other tax reform areas. Where Bangladesh stands, Bangladesh is also a leading country in the gig market. As per Oxford International Institute, Bangladesh is the second favorite country to supply online labor, with 16% stakes in the online labor share in the world. In 2021, Bangladesh had a growth of 27% in gig workplace, and being an economy with top 24 largest in the world, Bangladesh has very good prospect and potential for gig economy to take place or to flourish here. We had around 6.5 million freelancers working in Bangladesh, some of them earning a hefty amount, although some of them might not earning a lot, because it depends on your contribution, depends on your work you are doing. So it is contributing hugely in the foreign exchange earning of and the growth of the country. And a study done by PRI, Policy Research Institute, that ride-sharing industry is like 2,200 crore, representing around 23% of the transportation sector in the country. Within the next 5 to 7 years, it is estimated that the major source of foreign exchange earners in the country would be a freelancer in Bangladesh. There are Facebook-based platform doing a lot of e-commerce, it's called F-commerce. According to a study done by Center for Policy Dialogue, there are 50,000 Facebook-based entrepreneurs in Bangladesh, and it is growing every day. Okay, many women entrepreneurs are involved in homemade food delivery services as well as clothing, cosmetics, jewelry businesses through Facebook platform. There are challenges as well for Bangladesh, because we do have little bit lagging in the digital improvement, digital platform. Also, there are some problems with the regulations and guidelines of the e-commerce or F-commerce platform. It is governments are trying to update it, trying to make it so that the interest of the consumer, interest of the e-commerce service providers also be protected. We do have also the internet, it needs internet speed, internet services. So in terms of mobile internet speed and services, Bangladesh is quite lagging behind, so we need to work here as well. The unavailability of pension schemes, pension scheme, also another hurdle, another challenge for the people working in the gig economy. What are the way forwards? Way forward is that Bangladesh government is actually very much interested to help, particularly the freelancer. Recently, a decision has been taken, an action has been taken to give freelancer ID card so that they will be socially recognized. Then they are employed, their the social honor or social prestige could be improved. Bangladesh will also take some initiatives to provide low-cost fund, low-cost loans to the freelancer and other gig or e-commerce based service providers, particularly small and SME sectors related to e-commerce and F-commerce business at low-cost interest rate. Also, government is having some tax exemption of tax relief for IT-based freelancer until sometime in 2024. Thank you. This is from my side about the gig economy, pictures globally and also in the country of Bangladesh. Thank you all for patient hearing. Should I stop sharing?
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Rahman, for stating the direction of post-COVID gig economy. To proceed, now we will have country chairs roundtable on action plans of regulatory reforms for startup innovation in Asia. With Muliandy Nasution, country chair of Indonesia, also CEO and managing director at Face Capital Group, as our moderator for the discussion. Mr. Ted Koo, special managing director at the Party Dang Dang and the partner attorney in the Lin PC. Mariana Ko, country chair of China and chairperson and CEO at CTEH. Mohammed Nuruzzaman, country chair of Bangladesh and group CEO of the Fodil family. And Wana Farayu Ahmad, country chair of Malaysia, also CIO and co-founder of Consent Ventures, shall take part as speaker to our next session. Short announcement in advance to starting the roundtable. Unfortunately, Dr. Nick Hill couldn't take part in this session due to the health conditions. So I hope for the quick recovery and wellness of Dr. Nick Hill. So the floor is yours. Now we can start the roundtable. Now we're At this moment, we're
Hello.
inviting.
Hello. Good day.
Hello, Muliandy.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Okay, no one in the evening time zone. I think Korea is the longest, the most forward among all of us. So hi, hello everyone. I'm Muliandy. I'm the country chair for Indonesia. It's been an honor to be our moderator today. And with us, we have Mr. Ko. He's the manager. It's very interesting company party. Yeah, I hope we're not like 24 hours party in Korea. It's a partner attorney of Lin PC in Korea. And also we have 3 country chairs together with us. Unfortunately, as mentioned earlier, from India is cannot make able on the last minutes. We have Mr. Muhammad Nuruzzaman from Bangladesh. Hello, Bangladesh. And we have Mariana Kau from China. Ni hao.
Ni hao.
And Wan Farah from Malaysia. Halo, selamat petang.
Selamat petang.
Okay, so the first stage. This is a very interesting topic, as most of us is the country chairs, and the topic is actions plan. Wow, it sounds like very yeah. It's like the audience is so demanding. What is the action plan of regulatory reform of startup innovation, especially 2 years after pandemics, and we don't know whether it will be over now or not. But for the first stage, I'll give it to maybe Mr. Ted. You have like 5 minutes to present or to mention something about the platform, especially in Korea. This is with all the K-pops, the K-drama now. Yeah, now become, I think the most, in my opinion now, is like the #1 entertainment industry in Asia, I think. Yeah, so yeah, maybe you can share with us how it will be, especially after the pandemics, with all the Netflix fee and all the stuff. Come on, Ted, I give you 5 minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you, moderator. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. Yes, as a moderator, Mr. Nasution mentioned that Korea has the very famous K-pop and K-culture industry. Recently, as you may know, the Squid Game is very famous for its popularity in Netflix. And as you know, the K-pop is loved by all the people around the world. Some of you may know the pop group BTS. They are planning open space concert in next month. But we have brilliant in Korea. We have a K-pop and K-culture industry, but there is less regulatory system other than other industries. If I say that in Korea we cannot share our personal car and our housing less than 30 days, you don't believe it. So sharing economy in Korea is less developed than other Asian countries, because the reason is that the taxi industry strongly wants to prohibit the sharing personal cars, and the hotel industry strongly wants to prohibit the housing sharing less than 30 days. So we have many regulatory system that prohibit the sharing our personal properties with with other persons. Despite of high technology in the industries development, sharing economy and gig economy in Korea is less developed than other Asian countries. We don't have Grab and we don't have Gojek, and like the sharing cars. But delivering industry is developing very fastly. As you know, the famous delivery startup company, WBAW Brothers, they also go abroad in Singapore and Vietnam or Philippines. As a their brand name is Baemin, you know. But delivery industry has no regulations, so they can prosper recently. So Korea has faced a strong problem to solve that with COVID-19 era. We need to develop the gig economy for facing and solve the problems occurred by COVID-19. But a strong close the regulation has prevented its development for now. So our congressmen and the government started to discuss this problem to solve, but we don't have much progress in the mitigate the strong prohibition of the sharing economy for now. So I am the chairman of the Dipati Dangdang. The Dipati Dangdang is the NGO for the regulatory innovation. But we have endeavored to deliver our strong message to the government and the parliament that we don't have much time to solve the regulatory innovation because the COVID-19 is affecting small business very harsh. In Korea, the streets, if you go to the Korean streets, there are empty stores. You can see the empty stores easily around the street. So it's the very urgent requirement for Korean people to solve the very strong regulation system to prepare the gig economy for the coming years. So I want to also get to understand how your countries solve the problem, like the conflict between old industry and the new startup companies. We have a lot of conflicts around several industries between the old players in old industries and the new startups innovating such old industries to the platform business. So that's the situation of the Korea to deliver. Thank you.
Thank you, Tesco. Now let's move to Malaysia. The one Farah. So what do you think? So you mentioned about want to create a Squid Game Malaysian version.
Well, that sounds very interesting indeed.
So what do you think the driving policy now? I mean, in entrepreneurship in Malaysia, especially like after the pandemic, is there any like new initiative, any incentive for the newcomer, you know? And yes. Maybe you can fill us.
Thank you, Muliandy. Hi, everyone. I'm Farah from Malaysia, and I run Kanzun Ventures Management. We are a venture capital management company registered with the Securities Commission of Malaysia. And in Malaysia, the government agencies are taking charge in terms of entrepreneurship development, especially the National Entrepreneurship Policy 2030 by the Ministry of Entrepreneurship Development and Cooperatives. It's called MEDAC, MEDAC. So under MEDAC, we have a few, there's a few policies, namely the National Entrepreneurship Policy 2030, and they have 5 objectives of the NEP 2030. The first is to create a holistic and conducive entrepreneurship ecosystem to support Malaysia's inclusive, balanced, and sustainable socio-economic development agenda. The second one is to create a nation that possesses and enculturates entrepreneurship thinking. The third one is increasing the number of Malaysian entrepreneurs that are high quality, viable, resilient, competitive, and possess a global mindset. The fourth is to improve the capabilities of micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as cooperatives. Sorry. And the fifth is to make entrepreneurship a preferred career choice. And this NEP 2030, we have 6 strategic thrusts. The first thrust is to fostering entrepreneurship culture across all segments of Malaysian society. The second one is to optimize regulatory environment and access to funding. The third thrust is stimulating holistic and integrated entrepreneurship development. The fourth thrust is accelerating economic growth through innovation-driven enterprises. The fifth one is to strengthen entrepreneurial capabilities and performance of micro, small, and medium-sized SMEs, MSMEs. And the sixth thrust is internationalizing high-growth enterprises. So these are all under the ambit of the Ministry of Entrepreneurship, Entrepreneurs Development and Cooperatives. Besides that, we also have other agencies looking after entrepreneurs in our country, namely MDAC, Malaysian Digital Corporation, that we have deployed some programs and initiatives on digitalization. We have 100 Go Digital, smart automation grants, and various kinds of grants going up to the startups. And under MAGIC, Malaysian Global, we have the Global Acceleration Program. We have Global Market Fit Program. And under MAGIC, we also have impacted around 138,000 individuals. They have a social impact score, like a scoreboard or dashboard, and they have impacted social enterprises up to the number of 452, and startups, they have impacted 3,952. And MDAC also did like a survey for the entrepreneurship landscape in Malaysia. And out of these numbers, we found out that 89.2% are services, the SMEs in the services sector, 5.3 in manufacturing, 4.3 in construction, and 1.1 in agriculture. In mining, I think. So that's about the roundup from Malaysia. We are also into sharing economy. We have Grab all over the place. Everyone is always like ordering from Grab. It's like the Grab car or the Grab food, and they also went for listing, I think, earlier this year, right? And after that, we also have other startups that are very promising. Some of them I can name here, like CoinGecko, Carsum, Aerodyne, we're going to feature after this. There's also BigPay and Boost. There's like the e-wallet companies. So those are some of the companies, the startups that are in the Malaysian ambit. Thank you, Muliandy.
Wow, it's a very full information. I think audience will like it. Yeah, I mean, a lot of things, new things coming in to Malaysia. And let's go next to China. This is the amazing, even with the pandemic, you still have 2 digits country growth. I think because I may be a lot of entrepreneur there, the government support. Maybe Mariana can share us how the business landscape there, how the situation there, what you do differently among other countries that you think is succeed, and maybe I don't know, because WBAF, we have access to the government. Maybe we can, do the similar thing like you. Come on.
Thank you. Hi everyone. This is Mariana Koo. I'm the chair for China for this year's World Business Angels Investors Week. I think, as mentioned, China continues to deliver pretty good economic growth despite, a tough year. I think what we have been doing quite well is really getting strict measures with controlling the COVID situation. I think whenever there is a small outbreak or there is some imported cases, I think the government is really, or the local governments are pretty on top of the situation for particular areas and just make sure that it could cut out the continued impact. But I think the highlight for the current, situation that we are continue to see in terms of policies, which I think that a few of the keynote speakers briefly mentioned for China earlier, is the changes or the new policies or the directions that we are feeling in the market coming from the Chinese government. I think the key word that we are talking a lot lately is about common prosperity, how we're going to make sure that everyone would do better together at the same pace, like no one is going to be left behind. I think that's the key theme so far, and that actually could be very interesting for what we're discussing today for entrepreneurs and for investors. I think in the current 5-year plans for the Chinese government is really highlighted that innovation and technology would be key. I think the government specifically is taking the lead to put in a lot of the investments into innovation, and also as some of the speakers mentioned about China has been, in the past decades, been a huge manufacturing hub for the world. So how is China really going to find a new positioning for this in combination with the new technology? I think those are the two key areas that we are seeing from an investing point of view, but also a lot of the entrepreneurial ventures really going into. And I think because it's a huge country with a huge population and a large economy. So I think there's got to be a lot of coordination from the central government's point of view, but also going into the local government. So I think overall, we are seeing a big push into building an ecosystem that would support innovation and that would actually paint a pretty kind of rosy picture for the young people. And that's a really healthy, I think, development culture we are seeing. And I think from investors' perspective, China has already built up a few hubs for, I guess, for innovators and for entrepreneurs in terms of how they would grow their business and really kind of scale up and ensure that there are capital markets access for that, right? Hong Kong clearly is a big hub for this type of activities, capital markets activity, but Shanghai and Shenzhen are also maturing as key hubs onshore. So I think we have both offshore, onshore support, and that's very important. And with that, I think that would kind of also link back to one of the key initiatives, which we will talk a lot more about. I think in the country session for China in about 45 minutes is the Greater Bay Area. That's where there's a country level or nationwide initiatives to promote Hong Kong, Macau, and a number of cities in Guangzhou to ensure that we could create a lot of synergies from a lifestyle, leisure, capital market support, and Shenzhen, which clearly is a bit of an innovation hub for China. So I think from those perspectives, there are a lot of top-down initiatives to support innovations, and also, of course, in the past couple of years to particular policies to contain the COVID situation. But otherwise, I think we are pretty active across the board for all innovative industries, from consumer tech, ed tech, health tech, fintech. I think we are pushing in a lot of academic research dollars into that, and also supporting all the entrepreneurs to make sure that we will kind of achieve the common prosperity goal. I think with that, I will pass it back to the panel, and then we look forward to.
Thank you, Mariana. I think I like this session. It's very straightforward, very robust, and yeah, no hanky-panky, no others nonsense stuff. Yeah, I mean, because we're talking about the actions plan, especially after this pandemic in China, Malaysia, Korea. Now we go to Bangladesh. Same questions. What do you think that the countries do? What is the difference now between the pandemic? I believe all countries in Asia, Europe, all the countries is trying to attract the investors, trying to attract the money come to the countries, but in a different way. Floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Muliandy, Chair of Indonesia, WBAF.
And first, I would like to convey my gratitude to the chair of the Asia WBAF week today, Mr. Derik Kim. And special thanks to the two keynote speakers, Professor Inderjit and Dr. Habibur Rahman. They have nicely presented the two keynotes. And this session especially is on the keynote of Professor Inderjit. So what should be the countries are facing, and what should be the action plan, and what would be the regulatory and other measures are taken to face the post-pandemic situations, especially in the field of investment, startups, angel investment, and others. You know that the Bangladesh, with the target to become the next target in the Asian economy, maintaining the stable GDP growth. As you know that in Bangladesh, almost we have a very steady growth. GDP is ranging from 6 to 8.5 for last almost 15 years. So this is a very good thing for Bangladesh. And we are not only GDP growth, we are also targeting especially the healthy employment rate as well. Without employment, it would be very difficult for us to keep the GDP steady GDP and then to reach to our targets. The startup ecosystem in Bangladesh, starting its basically its journey in early 2010. Our history of startups and investment, and especially the angel investment, is just 10 and 11 years, has gone through a remarkable transformation and is finally coming of age. Now we are in a growth stage. We cannot say that we are in the mature stage. It's a growth stage. The ecosystem is especially crystallized around two major cities like Dhaka and Chittagong. These two major cities on the back of sectors such as IT, e-commerce, and digital marketing, among others. The next wave, fueled by the ride-sharing and logistic industry, has taken the ecosystem even further. The investment receipts by ride-sharing and logistics sector players like the homegrown startups, Patha, almost 12 million from Gojek, Rahul's almost 15 million, and then some other startups has done very well and successfully captured the attention of both local and foreign investors. And enabling digital ecosystem and demonstrated rise to the number of technology-based service providers within the startup arena. In the coming years, emerging sectors like fintech, agri-tech, especially because you know that Bangladesh is the agri-driven economy, and health tech and edu-tech as well, especially, and analytics will keep spearheading the growth of startups in Bangladesh. Ecosystem builders in Bangladesh, I should say, in Bangladesh, startup ecosystems has had a late start compared to its regional peers, as I mentioned earlier as well. However, the exemplary growth was possible due to the successful implementation of a number of countrywide incubation centers from both public and private. Government has also given a tremendous support to scale up these startups and the private sector, like big corporate houses like Daffodil, Grameenphone, and some other telco are doing incubation and mentoring support to the startups and accelerator support as well. Inspiring, ranging from scaling up their ideas to raising funds and becoming sustainable in the long run. As I mentioned, if I go back to the presentation of Professor Inderjit, he's rightly mentioned that the deglobalization. Previously, we are always thinking of globalization, but this pandemic has shown us the deglobalization thinking, because practically the every economy was divided. No globalization was working, in fact. And considering the facts of pandemic, what should be the post-pandemic ecosystem for any economic or any regional economy? He nicely mentioned that it is three part. One is regulatory part, another is finance, another is infrastructure. He mentioned. In regulatory areas, he mentioned the business-friendly policy, which is 100% is now we are enjoying in Darfur. The policy, regulatory policy in Bangladesh is 100% business-friendly, I should mention. And he also said the rule of law, we are striving, our government is trying, but still it's not up to the mark in consideration of rule of law in Bangladesh. But still we are trying, and it is getting better day by day. And then he said, the investors and entrepreneurs are now fully secured on their intellectual property. In terms of finance, I should say the access to startup resources is definitely the entrepreneurs are enjoying that. Number two is the conducive tax policies. That is also in place in Bangladesh. It's very easy and very. There are some sort of bureaucratic process and others, and we are working on that. The government is working on that to do. But in terms of law in place is well and business friendly. Professor Inderjit said that the infrastructure is also very important. Access to skilled workforce. That is a, I should say that there is a problem. It's not only in Bangladesh, it's a global, every entrepreneur is facing the skilled worker. But it is, for in Bangladesh case, it is very mentionable that a lot of private universities are also emerged side by side of public universities. And a few of the private universities are doing very well. And the pipeline of skilled human resource is increasing. I should say increasing, and I think and we believe that we can overcome the situation. It's not only academic knowledgeable graduates, but also there are a lot of skill training institute is also is growing, and the government support. There are a lot of projects has been developed in Bangladesh in collaboration with foreign partners like JICA and then some COICA and some other agencies to develop skilled human resources in Bangladesh after a graduation to reduce the industry and academia gap. And then ease of global expansion. Yes, that is the main point, ease of global expansion. And this today's session and today's program, and if I say the total World Business Angel Investment Forum and the Investment Week itself with the theme of diplomacy in the business development is the one of the initiative that Bangladesh has involved with this for last 5, 6, 7 years. So it's not only WBAF, we have also involved with the GEN, Global Entrepreneurship Network, and a lot of other this sort of platform we have involved, both publicly and then privately, like Daffodil. And then quality of life, yes, it is debatable. Definitely, the quality of life must be improved in Bangladesh. I must admit it. And definitely, it is increasing day by day. And I hope that the whole ecosystem that has been proposed by Inderjit Singh, Professor Inderjit, and our homegrown things that I have mentioned in our action plan, in the Startup Committee Action Plan of Asia, we formulate together, and I especially put 3 points, and one of the most important point is to research and development. Why startup fails? If I say the scenario of Bangladesh and Asia, most of the startups fails due to what? This sort of researches should come forward to address the real, to find out the real cause and to how to address it. And I should add with this ecosystem proposed by Professor Inderjit to add with that. And this point has also been included in the action plan of Startup Asia Committee. And thank you so much, Mr. Muliandy, for
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Nuruzamans. Unfortunately, it's 2:30 at Indonesian time, 3:30 Malaysia, 4:30 at Seoul time. So we don't have any space for question and answers. But I think we will handle it separately. For anyone who want to ask, you can go directly to the speakers and so on. So thank you again, Ted, Senator Mariana, Senator Wanfara, Senator Nurzaman, all the country chairs, my friends here from Asia. Wish all of you the best. Thank you for your insight. As I mentioned earlier, it is very straightforward, very full fruits, I think, for everyone. And fortunately, it's recording, and we will blast it to all the social media of WBAF. Thank you. I'll give it back to moderator. Maybe we shall take pictures together after this.
Thank you, Muliandy. Thank you, Derik.
I enjoyed the session truly, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you all speakers, moderators, for swiftly completing the roundtable, also for providing jointly gathered knowledge from diverse venues. As our next session, there will be another roundtable session on reopening and rebuilding gig economy post-COVID-19 in Asia. Dr. Sean Watts, professor at Keimyung and Dongha University, will take part as moderator. And Clinton E. Day, CEO of Entrepreneurship Resource Institute in America, and Julie Jong-eun Kim, founder and CEO of Small Ticket in Korea, will join us as speaker for the roundtable. To add a note, unfortunately, Rama Iyer, the head of innovation GMR Group in India, couldn't join us in the roundtable due to his personal reasons. So we should proceed, but please note that we have to wrap up the roundtable until 5 p.m. in GMT +9, which is 30 minutes, 27 minutes from now, roughly. We're slightly edged from finishing in time, so please keep that in mind, and floor is yours.
Thank you very much, everyone, especially Chairman Derik Kim. I am happy to introduce you guys. Can you guys nod if you can hear me, first of all? Everything's okay? Great. So for our roundtable talking about reopening and rebuilding the gig economy, I'm very happy and honored to introduce and moderate discussions with our speakers, Clint E. Day, and he is the CEO of Entrepreneurship Resources Institute, LLC in USA, and Julie Jong-un Kim, the founder and CEO of Small Ticket Korea, and Derik Kim, and several of us here may be able to help talking about the whole idea of the gig economy. As we heard with the opening ceremony, we introduced the gig economy as the whole economy focused on big companies maybe hiring less lifelong staff and hiring more people for small projects, small jobs, or small gigs. So I'd like to start by asking Clinty Day to start and introduce himself, and then Julie Jong-un Kim to introduce herself, and then we can go through a few questions. So with that said, Mr. Clinton Day, I understand you are not only the CEO of Entrepreneurship Resources Institute, but you're a adjunct professor of entrepreneurship who serves on the advisory board and teaches member colleges of the National Association for Community Colleges Entrepreneurship, and a serial entrepreneur who founded 3 different insurance entities in Florida and Georgia and began teaching and mentoring after selling your last business. And there's more. You have clearly contributed with this coronavirus and how it has impacted small businesses in general. I understand you train and grow jobless population in lean startups for with the validation for unemployed persons with a desire and hunger to learn and succeed at small businesses. You describe this as the perfect storm. Can you help people understand, first of all, who you are and what you mean by this perfect storm of COVID, pandemic, gig economy, job automation, and AI? Would you be able to introduce yourself?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you.
Well, thank you. That's probably the longest introduction I've ever had. Well, the perfect storm was underway before COVID came along, and it was being accelerated by artificial intelligence, the automation of so many tasks. And it's only been almost rocketed into its impact on small business and all of the economies around the world by the COVID situation. And what also contributed to it was the gig economy, which you all have been discussing. The gig economy, which enabled large employers to hire people as independent contractors, together with artificial intelligence and the automation of work, of blue collar, white collar, as well as blue collar, was well underway before COVID, and COVID just, put the punctuation into the whole situation. The 3 together are the perfect storm, and what's that done? It's very much threatened jobs, and we haven't seen the total impact of it yet. It's underway, and one of the greatest phenomena is all the small businesses and what you might call soft workers who have been able to, at least in the US, because of all the government support, give up their jobs. And everywhere you go now, in just about any city in the United States, there are signs up for hire. They just can't get enough people at the mainly restaurants and facilities such as that. But my background is I was an entrepreneur. I founded insurance agencies in 2 different cities. And then when I sold my last one, I just decided I needed to help others experience the same thing I had. I really believe in entrepreneurship in a way of life because of the empowerment it gives young people and the security it brings to people who succeed at it. And I'm sorry that founder AJ Turan is not here, because I've been reading about his business Off-Bridge and what it did in India, a part of the total digital transformation. But I'll let, I think I'll let Small Ticket say a word or two at this time.
Great. So with what we're talking about with Small Ticket, we have Miss Julie Jung Kim. She's the founder and CEO of a company called Small Ticket Company in Korea. And she has the very first InsurTech in South Korea with the goal of reaching new generations of customers through customized and personalized insurance for young people, primarily in the 20s and 30s, often overlooked by the big insurance companies. And this company, Small Tech, helps insure most people, and as I understand, including pets and vacationers. So CEO Julie Jung Kim, would you be able to correct my introduction of you and say a few words about yourself, and then I'll get into some more questions for yourself.
Okay, hi, I'm a Small Ticket founder and CEO, Jung Kim. And since founded 2016, we've been carried out businesses vertically in regarding two sectors, pet and mobility. So we started with a pet insurance business, and now we're also getting into mobility insurance sector by tech and data-driven solution-based. So the reason why we are the first, we saying that we are the first InsurTech is that we are the first one who really targeted the micro-segmented groups. As Professor Sean said, the micro-segmented groups normally has been neglected from the traditional big ticket that we call the big tickets, the big traditional insurance companies. And they always say that they cannot produce some customized policies and services because they don't have enough data about the new segment. So we started this business to solve the insurance distribution channels problem. But now we felt that our business really helps to develop and then robust the sharing economy. So the gig, especially our main service, on-demand mobility insurance one, we developed fast in the nation, and it really helped to provide minimized, very small legal protection for the gig workers right now. So that's why I could participate in this panel, I think. Yeah, Sean, can you give more questions then?
Sure. To start with, everybody is starting to be aware of this gig economy. I'd like to pose to you, first of all, CEO of Small Tech, and then we can get Clint and others to join in. The question is, with normal workers usually having insurance covered by their company, how about insurance for these gig workers, the people that are working on their own without pensions or insurance or health insurance, sick leave, etc.? Do you have a few comments about how this gig economy is going to change?
So when we so our company's best success case actually was the on-demand mobility service for the Baemin brothers, which is #1 food delivery service platform service here, and also which recently acquired by the Delivery Hero. When we look into their legal protection, also insurance-wise, actually in Korea, there has been no trial. There has been a trial to define officially or socially agree the labor status of the gig workers. So it means there was nothing actually. So as far as I've known, the most recent one was from the Korea Labor Institute. They tried to categorize gig workers in special employment. So no legal protection, social protection like pension, industrial accident compensation insurance scheme, anything for them right now. So when we design our service, we started from the scratch, how we can protect with minimized cost to them actually.
Okay, great. Clint, did you have any comments to add to that, or are you ready for me to give you a bundle to talk about?
Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen here. Is that all right?
Okay, I'm not sure if you can try. Let's see. Yes, great.
Okay, let me see if I can bring this up. I've always been technically challenged. Can you see that?
Yes, we can. Rebuilding the gig economy. Thank you.
Well, I did a little background on, the gig workers and your topic. And this is a slide about India. And I was really hoping Ajay would be here because his company, Off-Bridge, has really enabled the digital infrastructure in India to flourish. And one of the reasons is they do background checks and are able to, verify people that would be gig workers and make the whole thing more secure. The forecast, I think most of this comes from the Dell Foundation in the United States, is that the Indian economy has a potential to create 90 million jobs by using the gig workers and the digital infrastructure. And one of the reasons is the government is creating a security fund for gig workers that will be sort of a fallback position. And it can be a growth engine, they hope. That's why the government is invested to bring some low-wage workers out of poverty. Then McKinsey is a worldwide research firm based in the US, but they do forecasting for large corporations. And they essentially have said this about the post-COVID recovery. Everybody in the SME, small to medium-sized enterprise category, which Jung would be in as interesting, she chose insurance. I've got to ask her what types of insurance she provides. I assume health and some personal coverages, but McKinsey says that you have to adopt new business models. Now, we teach business models in entrepreneurship, and we specifically use the Strategizer, Alexander Osterweiler's business model canvas, which is 9 components. I'm sure some of the participants are familiar with it, but you have to use that in a different way in a situation like the COVID crisis, pandemic. And so the customers have new expectations. There's all these challenges such as health restrictions. You have to invest in technology in a big way. And this has been a problem for smaller businesses because the large companies, of course, had the capital with which to, invest in technology. The small companies did it. And around the world in less developed countries, access to the internet became a problem. And that's one of the things that everybody's trying to provide, is to make it more equal a playing field so that other disadvantaged peoples have access to the internet. The new Biden infrastructure bill that's being debated this week in the US Congress provides for a large spreading of Wi-Fi and internet access for people, on the government. I mean, right now it's sort of personal investment. And then, I say at the bottom there, the small to medium enterprises lack the capital for this retooling and upskilling, but they're obviously having to do it and finding their own ways to it. This is something that I prepared based upon I believe it's the worldwide organization. I've got it on the next slide. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, membership all around the country, the world. But the challenges for these smaller to medium-sized companies to recover from COVID, as I said, a lack of cash flow and operational investment. The drop in demand, it's been significant, much more impactful on them than large companies. Some of the people they did business with, and some of them have had to close, and then a reduction of opportunity for new clients. So their business has been significantly impacted. In Korea specifically, the government apparently has given some leeway in the taxes filing deadlines, reduced the VAT tax to small businesses, and nevertheless, the Korean Herald says small businesses are teetering over their debt. It's still a great problem for a small company. Incidentally, I'm sure you in Korea know this, but other around the world, there's almost 6 million self-employed people in Korea, or 20% of the total workforce. And just unbelievable credit balances accrued for the equivalent to 252 billion in the United States dollars. When you say considering, the government still has some initiatives under consideration, such as platform vouchers and product. I want you to know, folks, that I do personally drive a Hyundai automobile, so I'm linked to Korea in my transportation. So this Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development has tried to put out policies to member countries, and you know, is very concerned about inflationary pressures, because right now, as we open up, there's a huge surge in demand, pent up, and as you know, supply chain tensions all over the U.S. The major ports on the West Coast and the East Coast have literally hundreds of ships anchored off the port because they can't unload the cargo quick enough. Yet it's just a gridlock. So over half of the world's population is deprived of the internet access. I mentioned this is a big problem, and it's much more severe in women than it is in men. They're 4 times less likely to be digitally literate. So we have a lot of work to do to bring fairness to the internet, which is now, you know, the solution to a lot of the problems from COVID. You've got to have access, you've got to be digitally operated. Just small residences, for example, have to provide to-go takeaway food to exist. So that's a little of the background I did. But specifically, I'd like to ask Young In what kind of insurance she is providing to these gig workers.
Yeah. So basically, the exact name of the insurance that we provide is on-demand hourly charge commercial bike insurance. It's for the gig workers for food delivery service. So it means that they are not full-time job, but they have their own bike, but they want to do the part-time job on the food delivery service. But in Korea, if you have auto bike, you have to have home bike insurance. It is by the law. But if you do work for some commercial reasons, you have to join different commercial bike insurance. So all the bike insurance and car insurance are based full term, so full year term-based contract. So for example, for 30-age man, for commercial bike insurance, he has to pay almost $300. But the gig workers, the core nature is that they want to work whenever they want, right? So they don't have to work full time, right? And they use their vehicle. So that's the conflict point, that they don't have any reason to buy 1 year based full term contract. So they wanted to give some reasonable and transparent usage-based insurance. So we developed the commercially hour charged one, but now we actually measure by second. So we sliced the whole year contract into minute, and we get a GPS data from our client platform, and then we measure, and then we give back to the underwriter.
Can
so
you access it on an app? Do you have an app?
We provide the corporate portal to our client. So the main platform is the client app service. So the riders, their movement is followed and then traced by their GPS data. So basically,
very innovative.
Yeah.
I
So we
commend you.
Thank Thank you. So actually we had lots of hurdles and there are a lot of stories we come over the FSC actually, but anyway, we did. And then now we're expanding to the car sharing platform drivers. So driver insurance, yeah.
I was just going to say, one last final thought. I leave you with the gig economy and the automation. I always give the example in the US of the truck drivers and the 3.5 million people who drive trucks, both genders and some families. And we have 3 or 4 companies that manufacture fully automated trucks and what we call long haul, West Coast to East Coast, vice versa, is the first application. And starting 2022, just 1 year away, they're going to actually have driverless trucks. You know, initially people sitting there in case there's a problem, but automated trucks driving from coast to coast in the US. 3.5 million people are threatened in losing their jobs. So what do they do? That's why I emphasize entrepreneurship. If you have a passion or an interest or something that you did in the past that you could then make into your own business, these truck drivers all have hobbies. You can become self-employed and actually provide a nice income to replace. A lot of these people make $50,000 to $100,000, you know, sort of 24/7 driving these trucks, but that's going to go away. It'll take some time for the local trucking where they have to make lots of stops and hauls to become automated. But next year in the US, there will be automated truck deliveries from coast to coast. So there's just one example of the pressure besides the gig economy that automation is bringing to the economies.
Related to your statements earlier, I heard Mr. Clint say that half the world is poor, deprived of internet, and that's terrible, but I believe it's more than 60% of the planet is in Asia. And my experience here says that even the people without the fancy desktops and with the poorest places, they can access internet, and they had been working for me sometimes by sharing a cell phone with a cousin's cousin's cousin. So they are able to still get online and do some gigs. So my question for you guys is, with Asia having 60% of the world's population, and most of Asia is rapidly developing and living below wages that are normal in Europe, Canada, USA, can you comment on this impact of how these gigs in Asia alone, if not South America or Africa, as these new freelancers can start impacting each area of the world? What do you think the big rich companies in Europe and North America, what do they need to be aware of and get ready for?
Well, you know, access to the internet is a major factor. You may have more access in Asia than we do in the US. We had so many students that had to go online when COVID came along that they would actually drive to the school and sit in the parking lot because it gave them access to the Wi-Fi on the school grounds. I mean, we don't have equity in access to the internet here. And a lot of charities and foundations such as Bill Gates were actually gifting computers and ways to get on the internet. And when the crisis, it's making some progress, but not enough. But again, 60% of the population, it sounds like the subject of this seminar and of what Jung In is doing, that the gig economy is thriving in Asia because of access to the internet. She's doing her insurance coverage through the GPS on a smartphone, which is brilliant. And so you may be ahead of us. That's very possible.
Yes, I saw small ticket already on my phone, and how it was not only possible for me to use my phone to start up and get insurance for her with her company, and travel insurance, leisure insurance, but also get insurance with the pets. Do you have comments, Ms. Kim, about the impact that these new opportunities that you have been thriving in how my family in Canada is very comfortable just doing the regular old big business thing. How should North Americans prepare or get ready?
Actually, I always have thought from the perspective of insurance industry. So just it will not be enough to you guys, but just I'll share my thinking. Because insurance is because when I started business, I heard from the case of USA, such as the Uber case. It's a digital car insurance, first digital car insurance, Metro Mile backed up Uber. That's why Uber started to insure the car sharing service. So at the time in 2017 and 18, I doubted that it wouldn't happen in Korea, never. But in 2019, the Paymin, the first announced that they would activate the crowd riding service. So and we took that the client task. So since then, we've noticed lots of growing numbers of the crowd riders. They reached at 100K already. And the frequency of driving is soaring after especially the COVID. And the people started to realize of the mechanisms of the insurance tariff. So it means gig workers, they are more sensitive and then they want to have more transparent insurance brokerage service. And they want to see the data by themselves. So even though it's a corporate contract based, but actually the cost burden is falling on themselves. Because I heard that they get the money, they get paid bi-weekly. So they have the bills, right? And then they see that the insurance amount, how much they used, right? And they want to have more smarter and convenient claim process. So they don't want to be bothered by any insurance services. So from the perspective, so as long as we provide more safe and transparent and reasonable insurance broker service by tech and back data, then the gig workers can feel more feasible to in this way, in making their lifestyle in this way. So it can be, over the countries, right? So as long as we launched our service in Korea, actually our target is Southeast Asia, because they are more mobile centric, and then they have more delivery services, and then there are more multinational gig workers arising in the market. So the insurance service also preparing the enterprise levels of solutions. So we don't sell the insurance policies over the country. We're trying to sell the technology. So this development from the several industry, including insurance, of course, but with the other financial sectors, I think it's really back up the growing of the gig workers economy. So to make more development, I think insure technology and the data analytics should be more developed, I think.
Okay, we are nearing the end of our time, and I'd like to just provide an opportunity for Clint and Ms. Kim and Professor Awan, if you could give 30 seconds each, your final words for the world about preparing for this new gig economy, what would you say? 30 seconds each.
Well, I obviously become very literate with computers and devices such as iPads and iPhones, and try and find a mentor, somebody who's doing it. Who, if you want to be a gig employer and self-employed, find someone that's doing it now and impose on. It's just amazing how entrepreneurs are willing to share and let them help you get started.
Thank you. Dr. Arwan, would you like to say 30 seconds and then we'll wrap up with Ms. Kim?
I think we are working in the startup environment, right? So but many people are really hesitant to take part in the startup. So let's encourage them, and then let's make the gig workers platform market together, then small ticket can survive.
Absolutely, yes. Dr. Arwan, would you like to say a few comments right at the end?
Are you asking me?
Yes, Dr. Tamir Arwan. I think that he might not be connected.
Me or Dr. Habib?
Oh, yeah.
You, Dr. Awan.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. It was really nice listening to all the esteemed speakers. I would say that in this gig economy, in fact, we have moved from the certificate-based or the degree-based education to the skill-based education or skill-based future. And I think our youth, I'm from Pakistan, and people in Pakistan, they are less interested in full-time jobs. They are thinking that they can work for less hours, they can put some extra efforts, they can learn some new skills. Many organizations, many websites that have made a remarkable contribution. We have the names like Coursera. They have made remarkable contribution even in these hard times of pandemic. And people, they learned a lot of skills. We suffered from bad health, but we also learned many new skills. If I personally talk to my students, I know some of them have done like more than 400 courses in these pandemic timings, and they have made their way in this gig economy. So this is the future, and I believe the youth, they are more into these things, and they love doing their work in their way and in their timing.
They're definitely, the world is changing faster than I can imagine, and I'm studying it. It's shocking. With that, thank you very much for your thoughts and ideas. I think it's time now to not only thank you, but thank Chairman Derik Kim. Would you like to take over and say a few words, Chairman Kim?
Thank you all. It's actually the excellent. It's a two keynote speaker, and it's the very exciting the two moderators, and also it's a very live the discussion by the all channels. So much impressed, and then we got many insights today. And then now it's already 6 minutes past. Actually, the country event is already started from 4 countries. So if you zoom in any countries, you can watch this country session. And then it's the, again, I'm thanks is for all participants today, and then the good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Now, this would be the end of today's WBAW Asia Continental opening ceremony. So we'll visit back on 7 p.m. in GMT +9. So, okay, thank you for joining us. Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Mr. Chair.
Bye. Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Habibur Rahman.